Thanks for checking out the channel. In this special episode on our channel, what we're doing is our first in a series of videos we're going to be doing of Can You Dip That? And so in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to do these wheels, but we're going to do it with powder coat. So this is a powder coat base and then dipped and then a clear powder coat over the top. And we're not just talking, someone brings you a powder coated wheel. We're talking even cooler than that. So make sure you stick around through the video and we're going to dip these. So we got these blasted and off-gassed. What we're going to do is go ahead and spray our black. We just have these hanging. They're just bent eye bolts. I'll put a little video in somewhere here on the screen that kind of shows how we put them in there. Just kind of hold them. That way we can do pretty much everywhere, and then the valve stem will cover where we have it. So we're going to get these black, and we're going to get them put in the oven, and then we'll take you out there and show you kind of how we're putting them in the oven, but we'll go ahead and get these sprayed black. So as you can see, we just have them hanging just from some eye bolts that are into that electrical strut. And we had plasma cut these brackets out just so that we didn't have to use huge washers. So these are just gonna basically like a stencil cure for Cerakote, but it's just basically we're gonna wait for this to flow out, and once it flows, we're gonna give it 4 more minutes in the oven, and then we're gonna pull them out, and then we'll bring you back at that point. Okay, so these flowed out. We gave them 4 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out and let them start cooling. And we'll bring you back when we are putting film on the water. So we got these taped off on the inside just to keep the pattern out so they look nice and clean back there. And we're just going to dip it with the valve stem going last pretty much. So we'll get it in the rinse tank and see what it looks like. So they turned out pretty good. I will get one of these over to the film table once I get it dried, and I will kind of go over a couple more things that need to happen at this point. But we're going to go ahead and get the rest of these rinsed, and then I'll see you at the film table. So this is out of the rinse tank, and what we're going to do at this point is if you needed to do touch-up, this would be the time to do it. Because what we're going to do next is we're going to put this in the oven and basically off-gas the wheel again. So what I do is I crank it up to the clear that I'm using. So we're using a gloss from Prismatic Powders that bakes at 375. So I will get this up in the oven to 375, and I will just let it sit there a couple minutes. Nothing crazy, but if you don't, what happens is the pattern will off-gas through your clear coat, and it won't be smooth. So that's why we want to do touch-up at this point. And we also have learned throughout this process, you can't, well, I don't want to say can't. We did a different pattern first, and it didn't work. I'll put some pictures on screen. But what had happened is it looked good out of the rinse tank, and we let them dry, and the film cracked on the powder coat. It was just starting to crack and pull away from the powder, and I thought that I must have overbaked the powder. But then we did a separate pattern over the same color, and it worked just fine. So then we started thinking that we just need to do samples of each pattern before and just see how it sticks to the powder coat. And this one stuck good. The other pattern that we did, I'll put a picture of it up as well. That one turned out pretty good. By far, I think this is the best looking one over the powder coat. It went on with very minimal air. So you just want to make sure you do a test part before you go through and do your real part, because we had to sandblast these wheels again, which if you saw when we were putting the black on, you could still see white areas where we didn't blast it all the way. And these are for one of our trucks, and I wasn't worried about it. So what I did is I just adjusted the KV and put powder over it because I knew it was powder coat. I know it'll hold up to the temperature, and I'm kind of ready to be done with this project. It's been quite a process so far. So we just went over those areas and made them black anyways, because they're ours, and if they're not perfect, they're not perfect. But this is when you'd want to do your touch-up. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven, and we are going to get it to 375, like actual temperature, just like you would to bake your powder, in just a couple minutes. That's all I do, like 2 to 3 minutes. And you'll see this one will probably matte out a little bit more, but when you're using, because this is a matte black powder, but like when we did the white, it was a gloss white, and the pattern actually got glossy. So you'll kind of see it change a little bit with the pattern. And then we can talk a little bit real quick about how I dipped those, how I went in, more this way, and then kind of finished this way. And that was just to minimize the amount of air that I trap up there on this little lip. So that was the only reason for that. But what you risk with doing that is if you look on this side of the bead, the pattern doesn't come over. But, if this was like a sticker bomb pattern, I'd still probably leave it, especially since they're ours. With these lips, they just get really tough. And carbon fiber is really tough because I don't like touching it up. So I elected to do that. The tires are obviously black. The rest of the pattern has black. So I think we'll be fine once we get tires mounted. But that's kind of why I dipped those this way. So let's go ahead and get this put in the oven, and I'll bring you back when we're in the paint booth. So we got these off-gassed, and what we're going to do is go ahead and get some clear put on them. These are about 150 from 147. I like to spray the clear over the pattern right around 150 or so. I did one test a while ago that I waited for it to cool all the way down, and it didn't take as well. It took where the pattern was, but where the clear areas where it didn't. So ever since then, I've just done them about 150 is where I try to spray my clear on. So I got my multi-coat nozzle gun, and we're going to go ahead and get these going. So we got these out of the oven, and as you can see, they turned out really cool. And then, so these are, the black was super durable matte black, which we use that because that's what we had. And then we did clear vision for the clear coat. So you can kind of see it turned out really good. So with this being a new series, if you would comment down below something that you've had questions about from customers, or something that you think would be really cool but you just don't know if it's doable, we're doing a whole series of can you dip that. So this was just something we get asked about a lot with powder coat. So this is where we started. But if you have something else, like if you want to see dipping over maybe Cerakote, we've done that before. It's a little bit more tricky, I think, than the powder coat. But if you want to see kind of a walkthrough of that, comment that. And then we can kind of go over how we were hanging them. It's nothing super fancy. This is just a riv nut that fit really good in the valve stem hole. And then we used a coupler nut that was a 1/2 inch, because the 1/2 inch one fit over the riv nut. And then we just turned it down to be smaller where it contacted right back here. So we just made it to where it was a smaller footprint. And then a washer and an eye bolt that we bent. And so all of this was just to try to get our center hanging point centered over the weight. So it doesn't go all the way to the center of the wheel, because most of our weight's up front. So we just tried to get it centered over the weight so they weren't taking up a ton of extra space. But I'll get some other shots put in here of kind of tires mounted on the truck. So something we noticed too is you can see this was the pattern just with regular clear. And you can see how the color changed kind of to a more gold color with the heat from powder coating it. So just keep that in mind too. So all in all, I think this project went pretty well. As you saw, we did have some issues with other patterns and stuff like that. But for something that we had never personally done, just kind of worked with a company in the past and kind of offered it together, I think it was a pretty good first go at it. You can even see we 3D printed our logo on some center caps. So yeah, I mean, just basically you can do anything that you set your mind to, and that's something that we try to focus on every day, is just kind of, you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. So this is something that we do a lot, just dipping wheels. But if you've dipped wheels, you know everyone's concern is always just the durability of the automotive finishes right there next to the road. So with the powder coat, you get a lot more of the durability. So this will be something really cool to offer our customers at a better price than if we had to send them out to get powder coated. from a third-party company. So we appreciate you guys watching the videos. Share them if you know someone that might be interested. Subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.